Welcome, everybody. It's great to see a good turnout for this event. I am Darwin Von Graham. I'm the senior news editor for the Oaklandside. Thank you. Our editor-in-chief, Tasneem Raja, wanted to be here tonight, but she is at home battling a pretty bad cold. I'm sure a lot of you know something about that. There's some kind of bug going around. But she wanted me to extend well wishes here to everyone and say that she hopes we have a really productive discussion. I want to, at the outset, thank our partners for this event. El Timpano, they're a local community-based newsroom, and our other media partner. Yeah, you can please applaud El Timpano. Yeah. And our other partner, KALW Radio, broadcasting from across the bay to the whole Bay Area. Yeah, KALW. And I want to extend a special thanks to Castlemont High School. This is an incredible space. Yeah, I mean, Castlemont has made this available to us. Just really quickly, a little bit about the Oaklandside. We're a small but mighty team of journalists who cover the city of Oakland. We write about everything. We write about music, food. We write about politics. And that's what this event is all about tonight. It's about politics. We're a nonprofit, and we are nonpartisan. We do not make endorsements, and we do not try to put our fingers on the scale in terms of elections. We don't make endorsements. And this event is meant to be informational. It's to provide you with access to the candidates, to understand who they are, so that you can be more confident and better engaged as voters and just participants in the political process for this special election. The Oaklandside, we have the only reason we're able to do this work, if you read our work and like our work, and if you like these kind of events, the only reason we're able to do it is because of the members who sustain us through contributions to our newsroom. So please, if you like this event, if you like the coverage we do, please check us out and consider becoming a member of the Oaklandside. Yeah, thank you. If you quickly some housekeeping here. We have Spanish interpretation for tonight. So when people are speaking, especially candidates, please speak clearly, speak slowly, and speak into the microphone so that the interpreters can hear and can translate. I want to point out the exits here really quick. There are 2 exits up front, and there's an exit on the side here in case we need to shuffle out at some point. Restrooms, there's 2 in the lobby. I believe the men's is on this side and the women's is on this side. This is a 2-hour event. We're going to be here till 8 p.m. There are no breaks. If you need to go to the bathroom, just squeeze out and go. Don't worry about disrupting things. In terms of security, we don't expect any issues tonight, but we do have an OUSD culture keeper on hand. And then there's myself and Jacob Seamus. Where are you? Jacob, there's Jacob there. Jacob, Cityside, is the director of community journalism at Cityside. He does a lot of stuff for us. And tonight he's going to be helping me run mics around the room during the Q&A. But if you have any concerns throughout the night and you just want to bring something up, you can approach Jacob or myself. Now, before we get any further, I want to welcome up Candy Martinez to the stage. Candy is going to lift up a land acknowledgement for. Oh, you're behind me. Hi. You're hiding. Let me just introduce you really quick. So Candy is the co-director of the Laurel Street Fair and World Music Festival. Great event. Oktoberfest. Great event too. And the Temescal Street Fair. And you're an Oakland Indie Award winner for your work as a cultural steward. I'm going to give you the microphone.
Thank you. Good evening, Oakland. My name is Candy Martinez. I come from a long line of Indigenous activists, laborers, lovers, dreamers, and stewards of the land. My people know both scarcity and abundance, and the tender dance between the two. The earthy browns of our skin, we know what it is like for the flowers to confuse us for home. We also know that home is sometimes a fleeting memory. Oakland is my home, our home, and I love this city And I'm so honored to lift up the land acknowledgement for our time together this evening. Thank you, Oaklandside, for having me. I had to get your attention. We acknowledge that we are gathered this evening on the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Lishan Ohlone people. We express our gratitude to them for their traditional stewardship of this land that continues to this day. We acknowledge the critical importance of the land, the air, and water to all of us, the existence of tribal communities, preserving indigenous ways of life, and the respect they are owed for their perseverance in the face of oppression and erasure. We honor all indigenous people who have worked and continue to work for justice and healing. And may this land acknowledgement also serve as a reminder to practice sacred reciprocity with the earth. And as we leave this beautiful theater in Castlemont High School in East Oakland and return to the cool evening air, that we remember our interconnectedness to all beings. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. Deeply appreciated. Now, before the main event, I'm going to run through the rules. There are rules. This is mostly for you all to understand sort of the rules of what's happening here. The rules have been shared with the candidates in advance of tonight. So each candidate will be given 1 minute to introduce themselves. The moderators will then present questions to the candidates. The candidates will be allowed responses ranging from 30 seconds up to 1.5 minutes, depending on the question. There is a timekeeper in the front row. The candidates will be reminded of those time limits. If during a response, one candidate mentions another candidate by name, calling them out, criticizing them, etc., then that candidate will have 30 seconds to respond to that. But I want to encourage the candidates actually to focus on yourselves and your plans and your vision for the city, maybe less so on your opponents, but it's up to you. Community questions. Following the moderators' questions tonight, the discussion with the candidates, we're going to ask some questions that were submitted by the community in advance of this event. Over 500 of you submitted questions to us. And so we had to dig through these questions. Some of those questions and themes are built into the questions that the moderators are going to ask. And we've put some of those questions in our pocket to ask later on also. But we will also be opening up the mic for audience questions toward the end. To the candidates, we ask that you be present in the room tonight and really listen to the questions that were submitted by the community and that the moderators here are going to be reading. We're not interested in stump speeches and your talking points and your bullet points. We want to hear in real detail what your ideas for the city are. We know that's challenging in 30 seconds or a minute, but you're running for mayor, and in your skill set should be that ability to communicate succinctly in that way. Civil language. I want everyone in the room tonight to just be civil to each other. This is not Twitter. This is not Facebook. This is not Nextdoor. You are in this room. You're in this room together tonight as Oaklanders, as people who care deeply about the city of Oakland. You may disagree with each other passionately about what the solutions are to various problems facing the city. But it's fair to say that everyone in this room tonight cares about this city and wants to fix it. Please listen to each other and respect each other, even if you disagree. Please refrain from clapping and cheering during the Q&A portion of this event. Limited time. I'm going to try to shut up here quickly in a minute, but limited time, and every time we clap and cheer, we're sort of cutting into the time that we have for gleaning more information from these candidates. So now I'm going to introduce the candidates very quickly, and this is your one opportunity to cheer and clap if you want to show support for any of the candidates in particular. So I'm just gonna read their names off, in alphabetical, because they have a minute to introduce themselves.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can I ask a question about? No, this is to you as the moderator.
Sure. I'm not a moderator. I'm just the MC, but go ahead.
The host.
Yep.
Our Oaklandside. May we have Miss Barbara Lee come sit with us?
You're seated in alphabetical order, so I'm going to introduce you now in alphabetical order. And I would like each of you to raise your hand and wave it as I name you in alphabetical order. That's how we seated them. Barbara Lee. Next to Barbara is Mindy Pechenuk. Suz Robinson. Next to Suz is Eric Simpson. Elizabeth Swaney. Loren Taylor. And Renia Webb. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. Just really quickly, I want to introduce my stellar colleagues here, your moderators for tonight. Roselyn Romero is our cheer. Now I'm going to command you to cheer. Roselyn Romero is our public safety reporter. Eli Wolfe is our city hall reporter. That's right. And Azucena Rasilla is our arts and community reporter. Okay, Roselyn, it's all you. Right there, Mike.
Thank you, Darwin. And welcome, everybody. My name is Roselyn Romero, and I am the Oaklandside's public safety reporter. We're going to start this evening out by allowing each candidate 1 minute to introduce themselves. Miss Barbara Lee, we will start with you.
Thank you very much, and good evening. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. Let me just say how honored I am to be here with you, and I want to thank Oaklandside for bringing us together. You know, for 26 years, I have proudly served Oakland, of course, 4 days in Washington, D.C., 3 days in Oakland, 4 days in D.C., 3 days in Oakland. And I've been so proud to be able to have brought in billions of dollars for housing, for public safety, for infrastructure. But I also know that Oakland now is at a crossroads, and we need experienced leadership to guide us forward. And I'm running for mayor really because I believe in you. I believe in One Oakland, where every neighborhood, every individual is safe, where every family has housing, security, and where every business can thrive, not just survive, but I mean thrive. Oakland is resilient. Oakland is powerful and full of possibilities. So I want to be your mayor, and I want to thank you so much for inviting us to be with you this evening. Thank you again.
Next, we will hear from Mindy Pechenuk.
Hello, thank you, Oaklandside, for having this event and everyone being here. And I just want to say to everyone, you know, we're at a great moment of change if we come together. It's not about whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or whatever ideology. There are real principles that I believe in that founded this country, which means we must make Oakland again an industrial city, a manufacturing city, as it once was. And we need to immediately eradicate the drugs. There's no reason for our children and our people to be dying. I live near International, and I've seen young girls being prostituted on the streets of International, which never used to be the case when I first moved here to Oakland. My experience is 50 years in politics. I've transversed from my hometown in New York to Chicago to here in California. And yes, I worked hard to get President Trump elected, and I know that his help with the federal government, we can get the funding and things we need to rebuild our Oakland. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mindy. Next, we will hear from Suz Robinson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Suz Robinson. I actually live right up the street from here in East Oakland. I've been a proud Oaklander for 10 years, and I've worked at the intersection of business and public policy since 2009. I am Vice President of Governance for a regional organization, the Bay Area Council, a business group. And I'm here tonight because I'm very concerned about what's going on in our city. I've been nominated by my neighbors, my community members who know the difference between handgun fire and machine gun fire. And nobody should know the difference between those two things. and we have been plagued by crime and violence in this city. So I'm running on a public safety platform, and I'm running to revitalize this city. You know, the battle for this planet is here. It's the land beneath our feet. This is our sacred land. It's in Oakland. It's not 5,000 miles away at some climate conference. This is ground zero in the fight for this planet. And we have huge opportunity right now in this city to rebrand.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Eric Simpson.
Hello. I'm a lifelong member of the Socialist Workers' Party, an industrial worker, and a trade unionist. We need to understand the world to understand the boss's attacks on workers today. These attacks come out of increased rivalries between imperialist powers. The ruling class solution to their economic crisis means social convulsions and a march towards fascism, expanding wars, World War III, and a new Holocaust, Jew hatred. What can stop this and open a new future for humanity? It's the working class. We're the only class that has no interest in exploitation. A class break is needed to end the monopoly of politics by the billionaire families. We need a party of labor for all working people. We need amnesty for immigrant workers. We need a party of labor to take power, to create a new state built on solidarity and cooperation with struggles worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Elizabeth Swaney.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Swaney. I began my education in Oakland Public Schools in the 80s and 90s. I grew up in a bilingual, bicultural household in Oakland, so honored to be here with you all today. Thank you to Oaklandside as well. I know there's one forum coming up where candidates have to raise $75,000 to come, and I don't think there should be a price tag for democracy. So grateful to Oaklandside and everyone here for being so inclusive to so many candidates. I'm an Olympian, stand-up comedy performer, and I want to bring Olympic opportunities to Oakland, revitalize Oakland, just create great things for this great city. The city inspires me so much. You inspire me so much. I want to continue to bring this city on an upward trajectory and just bring great opportunities to you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Loren Taylor.
Good evening. I'm Loren Taylor. I'm a third generation Oaklander raising the fourth generation right here in this city. I'm an engineer, a professional problem solver, and I like to fix things. Oakland is broken, and we are in need of immediate fixing. I am excited to take my skills as an engineer, as a problem solver, as a former council member, and apply it in a way that moves our city forward. Yes, the problem that we have in this city, it's the corruption, it's the mismanagement, it's the self-dealing that has occurred in City Hall. We have seen evidence of that, and that has left us lacking. It is time that we stand up against the special interests that supported former Mayor Sheng Tao, the same ones that recruited our Congresswoman Lee to run. I am standing up against them because Oakland needs independent leadership that will make the firm decisions that are hard and necessary choices. I've been here, I've been on the ground for more than 6 years. I look forward to representing Oakland and driving things forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Now we'll hear from Renia Webb.
Good evening, everyone. I am so happy to be here with you all tonight. Thank you all for being here. As I was walking in here, I was actually thinking about Miss Howard, who my kids call La Mama. I won't tell what class she graduated in, but I will say that she was promoted to be the first woman fire captain in Oakland, California. She is a graduate of Castlemount High School, so I would love for you to give it up for her because she's a legend. And then I thought about my cousin, William Shavrin, who was a former principal of this school, who married my beautiful cousin, Joya, and helped turn the school around. And then I started listening to a song. It's called Name It, Claim It by the Clark Sisters. My father played for them. He's a knight. class of 1968. So tonight, we're in the house that Charles Renard Webb built. His daughter will be Mayor Webb. We're going to have church tonight, and that's not about religion, it's about
Ms. Webb, your
community
time is
and
up.
work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all candidates. The following questions were compiled by the Oaklandside journalists with input from the community. Maximum response times will range from 30 to 90 seconds. I will remind you how much time is allotted before and after stating the question. Please keep your responses within the time frame and pay attention to the timekeeper up front. Let's jump in. My first question is for all the candidates. You each have 30 seconds to respond. In one succinct sentence, describe what your top public safety priority will be on day one as mayor and why. We'll start with Ms. Lee. You have 30 seconds.
I would, on day one, follow the will of the voters by implementing Measure NN, which requires a comprehensive public safety strategy and plan.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Mindy Pechenuk.
The first day of office, what I'm going to do is make sure we change the city ordinances of Oakland. What most people don't realize, that's hindering the ability of our police to do their duties. It's the ordinance that the city council has in place, as well as get rid of a lot of these oversight commissions, which is also tying the hands of our police so they cannot do what they need to do in order, and also increase them, obviously. But the ordinances have to be changed.
Thank you. Suz Robinson.
Thank you. You know, we don't have enough police officers, and the ones we have are not doing their jobs. That's straight from the mouth of Chief Mitchell, who described a culture of fear in OPD and a toxic work environment. You can check out that at the Police Commission meeting. From day one, I'm going to overhaul the culture. We're going to get our officers out of the cars, off paperwork, and we're going to change the culture of OPD so our officers are not afraid to do their jobs.
Eric Simpson.
My party protested the attack on the menorah at Lake Merritt 2 years ago, where the menorah was broken down and thrown in the lake, and stood in solidarity with the Oakland Shabbat Jewish Center by the lake. When their windows were cracked last year, we protested the attack and visited in solidarity. So I think it's extremely important and #1 priority to stand up against Jew hatred.
Elizabeth Swaney.
Streamline the police officer hiring process. The police officer can hear me now? Okay. I would streamline the police officer hiring process. I was ranked #1 as a police officer candidate 2023, 2024 after the agility test and interview over a 6-month process. And I was told I probably wouldn't move forward because of administrative issues. So more police officers, and talk to the current police officers and firefighters about what they need and see how we can move forward.
Loren Taylor.
#1, we have to increase the officers on the ground. I'm targeting that we get to 800 officers, and that requires that we partner not only with the current officers, but we have to work with our retired officers to bring them back to be boots on the ground. We also have to look at ways that we expand the force. I will be calling Governor Newsom to make sure that he keeps the CHP here so that they don't leave, because that would leave us in even worse state. We also have to focus on getting 911 response faster, and that requires engaging with our dispatchers, supporting them, and making HR work much better.
Renia Webb.
It's called Community Code of Conduct. We're going back to where if our grandmothers, if y'all even think you're going to rob a grandmother on the street, we're going to handle it before the police come. Our babies shouldn't be afraid to go to school. This weekend, I spent going all over Oakland talking to them boys in the hood and letting them know there's a different code. We're going to have to take care of community. All of us are.
Thank you very much. My next question is for Loren Taylor, Suz Robinson, and Mindy Pechenuk. You each have 90 seconds to respond. Mr. Taylor, you've proposed increasing OPD staffing to 800 officers. Ms. Robinson, your website states a goal of 882 officers, while Ms. Pechenuk, you've suggested 900 officers. This would mean adding 100 to 200 officers. At a minimum estimated cost of $250,000 per officer per year, this would range from $25 million to $50 million annually. Given these costs, how do you plan to secure the funding to hire and maintain this many officers? How would you ensure the funding and resources needed to support police academies and produce full graduating classes? And finally, do you believe that targets of 800, 882, or 900 officers are realistic? Let's start with Mr. Taylor. You have 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you. First of all, yes, getting to 800 officers, as I have proposed, is realistic. If we add 3 academies, have 3 academies per year, in 3 years, we will be above 800, taking into account attrition. With respect to that growth, yes, it needs to be funded. We as a city have made short-term decisions looking at 1 year puts and takes. If we have a better focus on long-term benefits and return on investment, we will realize that public safety improvement means that businesses stay, so does their tax revenue. It means that companies invest and help to grow the city. We already know that the big 4 companies downtown, PG&E, Blue Shield, Clorox, and Kaiser, have committed $10 million a year to invest in improving downtown. There are many other corporations that are also willing to support our city, but they don't trust us to effectively use and steward their resources. Once we demonstrate how effective and successful we are, they will come and partner with us. I think there was another question related to, let's see, how we get there, whether it's feasible. I'll just say the other piece with increasing officers, academies, and adding to the force, we have to look at those who are leaving. We can no longer be the city that is training every other jurisdiction's officers. Retention has to be the focus. And that means we have to support our officers who are doing well while we hold accountable those that are not and not policing constitutionally.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Pechenuk. You have 90 seconds to respond.
Well, we definitely need to increase our officers, as I said, and we definitely can financially do it. We don't have a financial problem in the city. We have a leadership problem. And that has created a financial problem, which started back in the 1970s. It didn't start yesterday. And therefore, if we don't, let's put it this way, as I said earlier, I've done about 6 ride-alongs with the East Oakland Police. So I've seen it firsthand, what these officers are taking on, who are completely dedicated to the people of Oakland, of East Oakland. And what we need to do is increase the number of, because a lot of them have to do mandatory overtime. It's not that they necessarily, even want to do the overtime, but it's mandatory because we don't have enough officers. So what price do you put on human life? What price do you pay? Maybe we should clean out some of the programs we have and really see what's going on. Where is Oakland's money going? Just like the Doge is doing in Washington, D.C. Because you've been foolish, and excuse me, you're not supposed to laugh. Because it's your life, it's your children, it's your grandchildren. Because what has happened in the governance of this city is it's actually gotten worse since you've had the policies that you've had. The crime has gotten worse, the drugs have gotten worse. So I want to untie the hands of our police as I increase them, because if we don't do that, we're in trouble, and that's why the ordinances and the commissions have to be shut down and hands freed.
Thank you, Ms. Pechenuk. I also just want to remind the audience to refrain from reacting after or during each candidate's response. Ms. Robinson, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you. And I'm with Loren, on the public-private partnership for public safety and expanding our security in our downtown business district. But look, folks, this is a revenue problem, pure and simple. And we cannot expect to increase officer levels if we don't even have a business plan in this city. Our business plan expired 5 years ago. It was supposed to be renewed in 2023. It's a 2023-2028 business plan, economic development plan. Where is it? How long does it take this city to get a business plan out in the middle of a business crisis here? We have a revenue problem in this city, and that's why we can't afford officers, and that's why we're robbing everything they can possibly rob over this. And it's like, this is unacceptable. We've got to get businesses back to this city with a business competitiveness plan, and I'm going to launch it in the first 6 months of office. These other cities right next to us are stealing our businesses. We've got companies that are Oakland companies growing in Emeryville right now. Of course, we are poor. We can't afford officers right now until we get our revenue up. And to get our revenue up, we private partnership, as Loren suggested, to get our business center safe so we can attract companies back here and get hammer swinging in the downtown. Converting office buildings to housing. We're not building market rate housing in Oakland. This is a revenue problem, pure and simple. And finally, I'm going to finish with Measure NN because the auditor's report came out on Measure Z and it's a fail in every category. So we have to be laser focused on that ballot measure and make sure that we hit every category of public safety or they're just going to fail again.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. My next question is for all the candidates. You each have 1 minute to respond. Since January, 3 Oakland fire stations have been temporarily closed, with 2 of them remaining closed through the end of the current fiscal year. While most of you have expressed a desire to reopen these stations, doing so would likely require cuts to other city services. Which specific services, programs, or departments would you prioritize reducing or cutting to fund the reopening, and why? We're going to mix it up a bit and start with Mr. Simpson. You have 1 minute to respond.
I went down to Los Angeles to visit Altadena and express solidarity with the fire victims there and talk to them about what was going on with them and the fire. There was a massive problem with 17 people dying who didn't get the warnings while the fire was raging across the divide in Altadena. This was a massive failure of preparation. We need more fire stations for sure. We need a massive jobs program to put people to work actually working on fire prevention massively. And I think we can fight to win we need a fight for a massive federal public works program to put people to work Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's hear from Mr. Taylor. You have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, as the only one up here that has actually been in City Hall managing budget negotiations, decisions, et cetera, I think I have a special leg to stand on. When it comes to making budget decisions, I think we first have to look at how we change how we budget. Those who you may not know, how we budget is we look at what was done the year before and we figure out what gets added or subtracted. And this has gone on for decades. So we are actually working on a budget that was founded decades ago. We need to clean house, refocus, do zero-based budgeting, and start with our priorities. What are the most prioritized items that we need to do? The core services as a city, start with those, and then gradually add the next priority, and the next priority. Otherwise, we will continue to have this back and forth on unsolid foundation. And that's what needs to be addressed if we're going to actually get our right-sized budget and avoid the $120 million structural deficit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Now we'll hear from Ms. Pechenuk. You have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, the first thing about running a city is it's not like balancing your checkbook at home. And it's about right now, we have to put people first. For too long, the debt service, the bond service has sucked the city dry. And so what you need to do, as I said earlier, you need to go through the entire budget, not just the budget, but all the departments. You have to see where the waste is going. I don't agree cutting Meals on Wheels is a good thing to do. That serves a lot of poor and a lot of senior citizens who will otherwise literally be thrown out and die. from not having food. So to keep the fire stations open, that's a no-brainer. That's something you do. And you have to realign how you think about what the priorities are in the city. And I don't think, well, a lot of the things that we've been funding in Oakland, a lot of the things like, some of these social programs should continue. So that's where I
Thank
would
you,
look to
Ms.
make the
Pechenuk.
cuts and get the fire stations opened.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Ms. Webb. You have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, I am now one of the newest members of our Oakland Budget Advisory Commission. So I'll be working to craft the budget that will be coming to my desk when I'm the next mayor. So I'm already doing the work again. One of the programs that I would cut is Oakland Promise. We don't need millions of dollars of overhead and employees to give out about $80,000 in scholarships. So our city needs to manage our money better. And when you guys are being disrespectful to Ms. Mindy, I believe that's your name, when she brings up Doge, she's being honest. There's hundreds of millions of dollars that's been mismanaged in our city. So you guys need to grow up, stop disrespecting people, and get to work. Because all you guys have is cyber courage, but are scared to be in the community and do the work. Act like adults.
Ms. Webb, your time is up. Thank you. We want to remind the candidates to please be respectful. Now we'll hear from Ms. Lee. You have 60 seconds to respond.
I don't accept the fact that, or the premise that we need to cut services as the first approach to preserving and keeping our fire stations open. Secondly, I know that there are inefficiencies in our departments, and I would look for, you see what's going on right now. We're finding additional resources within current departments, and I would look for additional resources through inefficiencies in our departments. Also, I was in the legislature during the early 90s in the firestorm, and I led the efforts in terms of response. And fire mitigation is extremely important, but also making sure, and I've said over and over and over again, that if in fact those fire stations have been closed, I want to open them as quickly as possible, find new revenue, and make sure that these 3,000 fire hydrants are working, because working with East Bay Mud and our
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
public agencies is important.
Now we'll hear from Ms. Robinson. You have 60 seconds to respond.
Thank you. You know, I think what we have to understand is that we have a $1.4 billion restricted budget, and that actually does contribute a lot to our services, and we cannot cut those budgets because they're ballot measures and they're various things that are earmarked. Our general fund is what's going broke, and that's really what we have to address, and it's an issue of revenue. We're just not making money right now, and as I mentioned before, we don't even have a plan to get our revenue streams up. But outside of that, Oakland is a city with no accountability, as we've all seen. And we have a city that's run by volunteers. We have over 40 committees that are comprised of volunteers that serve 2-year terms, and our elected leaders are dishing off the decision-making to them. All those committees are staffed by public employees. They're all pensioned, they're all benefited. Keep in mind, our city is being run by volunteers, folks. Our elected leaders do not want the accountability of making mistakes. So they dish it off to citizen-led committees, and if they make a mistake, guess who they're gonna blame? They're gonna blame you, that's who. We're responsible for the problems of the city, not them.
I want to remind the candidates to speak a little slower. We do have live translation or interpretation going on right now. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Swaney. You have 60 seconds to respond.
I grew up and remember firestorm as well, so we
Can we have a different mic or?
Thank you. Can you hear? Okay, this sounds better. Thank you. So I grew up around the 1991 firestorm, and I know none of you want to experience that again. We can't cut any public services, we can't have a crisis in another department. I think we should push for creative revenue in Oakland. For example, what if a company were to sponsor, a few companies were to sponsor the fire department? If that would be a lot better than cutting 2, 3 fire stations. I think we could do the same for the police officers as well, sponsor the police and maybe have city naming rights and bring more creative revenue to Oakland by partnering and doing these public-private partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to hand it over to the Oaklandside's City Hall reporter, Eli Wolfe.
Thank you, Roselyn. Can you hear me okay? Great. This first question is going to go to Ms. Webb. A recent East Bay Times article called into question some of your claims about the federal corruption investigation targeting the former mayor, Sheng Tao. The article describes claims you allegedly made that sound outlandish, including that people close to the former mayor attempted to poison you. The article also reported that a federal agent who supposedly warned you about the FBI investigation is not a federal agent and has never met you. What's your response to this article? You will have 90 seconds.
First of all, today I told Attorney Robert Harris in the meeting, he was my father's divorce attorney. I told him he made enough money off my father. If you guys want to keep playing about my truth, pay for a lie detector test and I'll do it live. I'm tired of you guys playing about my life and the life of my 7-year-old son. They literally tried to kill us. You guys could believe that they shot at a man 9 times, that they beat him up, all these things, but me, a Black woman, is lying about my son. I went to teach at his school. I make more money when I was 19 years old than I do right now. I work at Crocker to protect my son. My teacher, my principal went here. She protected me and my son when my community did not. So when you guys want to play games about my life and want to question it, pay for a lie detector test and I'll take it. Because the truth will always be the truth. I'm my father's child and I stand on it every day.
Thank you, Ms. Webb. This next question is for all the candidates. You'll each have a minute to respond. Last year, the Supreme Court's Grants Pass ruling allowed cities to penalize homeless residents for camping, regardless of whether or not there is shelter available. Mayor Sheng Tao and London Breed both called for more aggressive closure of homeless camps after this decision, while others say it harms vulnerable residents. Should Oakland change how it addresses camps in light of the Grants Pass decision, and how will you approach this as mayor? We will start with Ms. Pechenuk.
Well, I'll start with the fact that this is why I supported the recall of Mayor Sheng Tao. Look, the homeless question is a very complex question. I don't think I'll have enough time to answer it right now. But we have to, people are people. We just don't throw them out from one pile to another pile. We have to create an actual productive city again. If we have skilled jobs, if we have manufacturing, if we have industry, you know, a lot of the people who are homeless wouldn't end up on homeless. And another big part of the homeless problems is drugs. And the fact that Kamala Harris, when she was Attorney General, shut down the BNE, or at least allowed it to be shut down. That's the Bureau of Narcotics Enforcement, which Jerry Brown was also part of. You know, that stopped the state funding to these cities to actually go after the big time guys that are running the drugs and bringing them in. And so I don't think we'd have such a big homeless problem if we had not shut down the BNE, and now we do. So we have to create the jobs to get people in and give health care to those who are too mentally ill and destroyed.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. Well, you know, we need to stop the homeless housing lie. We do not have $1 million for 3,700 $1 million affordable housing units in Oakland. That's going to cost out at billions of dollars. We all know how to do math. It's not happening. So we've got to get everybody off the streets as fast as possible, indoors, into a clean, safe place where they can get well and get out of poverty. Right now in Oakland, there is a project going on that I will throw my full weight behind. It's a campus model. It's the consolidation of services. This is a Haven for Hope model, evidence-based, proven results. Everything is on a campus. We have a large shelter, mental health services. There's phase 2 and 3 where you surround the shelter with housing. Reno, Washoe County built this. They finished phase 3 affordable housing. This is going to drive down the costs and it's going to help people. They're going to have one place to go. They don't have the ability to run around the city trying to get well. What we're doing is not working, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to change.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Again, this is where my experience actually navigating and solving tough problems within our city at the local level comes to play. As a District 6 council member, I contributed to adding 800 units of housing into our development pipeline, affordable housing in District 6. I also brought stakeholders from across the ideological spectrum together to establish our encampment management policy, which has not fully been implemented here in the city. I will, as mayor, fully implement the encampment management policy, which ensures health, safety, and dignity in and around the encampments. Yes, we do need to move many of the encampments that exist because we do not need our children walking over and through encampments on their way to school. We do not need to deter businesses from actually surviving in our city because people are afraid to go and patronize them. We have to address that while providing the services, the support to help people
Thank
move
you very
from being
much.
unhoused to sustainably housed.
Thank you. Ms. Lee.
There are several things we need to do, and we need to do it immediately when people become unsheltered to prevent more encampments from occurring. But what we must do is early on, immediately, find transitional housing, provide the mental health services, the job training, and a job, because people need their dignity. And I would want to begin setting up a pilot project here in Oakland to look at universal basic income, to be able to hire unsheltered people to clean up the blight, which works in other communities. But having said that, we need to know that Measure W, the county, will be receiving millions of dollars very shortly. I want to be at that table when Oakland is deciding how to use its money and get our fair share of those dollars that are coming to the county.
Thank you. Ms. Swaney.
Homelessness is a huge issue in Oakland, and we need to learn more about what these homeless residents need. Mental health services is one, job training is another, and having just a safe place where they can live and other things that they can look forward to. For example, a job and being together with their family as well. So we need to create safe spaces for all of Oakland. Sometimes that means removing homeless encampments. Sometimes that might be faster than other times or in certain places, but we definitely need to focus on serving the homeless population, serving all the residents of Oakland, making sure everyone feels like they can move upward in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson.
Many things can propel a worker to the streets. Many of us are a paycheck away from disaster. Simply put, we don't have the money or the social structure needed to have a place to live. The economy is no good. The answer to homelessness is not the shelter system or arresting people who are sleeping on the street. Behind this social question is a class question. And this question too requires a class break. The social class that owns Oakland, that owns the empty office buildings downtown, empty factory buildings, is the obstacle to putting the physical infrastructure that we, the workers, can honestly say we built to the most effective use now.
Thank you very much. And finally, Ms. Webb.
First of all, I apologize for losing my cool. I don't play about my family, first of all. That's how I was raised. And I knew that Oaklandside was going to come with the mess because they're what's considered fake news sometimes. That's why they're always sending you guys notices for money. So that means their stories are bought So I apologize for losing my cool. My grandfather, who was a pastor of a church on 84th and Plymouth, Metropolitan Church of God in Christ, would say, know those that labor amongst you. I've been doing this work since I was 3 years old, alongside my dad's godmother, Mother Ann Wright. And they taught me that everyone is someone's child. So you treat people as such. We have to take care of everyone here.
Thank you very much. I will just remind the candidates to please stay focused on the questions. This next question is for Ms. Lee. You're going to have 90 seconds to respond. You opposed the recall of Sheng Tao, calling it undemocratic. Since she was recalled, federal prosecutors have indicted her for alleged bribery, and the city's budget, which was introduced by Tao, has been sliding into damaging territory, requiring painful cuts. Was your position on the recall a mistake, or do you stand by it? And again, you'll have 90 seconds.
I opposed the recall. I did not support any candidate. I have opposed recalls in the past. And a couple of things I would like to say to that. First of all, people had a right to vote for or against the recall. And I am very proud of the fact that in this election, I have the support of people on both sides of the recall. I think it's important that we move forward, not look backwards. And in fact, if I were mayor, and I hope I am elected as mayor, I would look at this budget and make sure that we do a couple of things that have not been done in the past, at least since COVID. One is look at our revenues and how we collect our fines and tickets and where the revenues are that have not been collected. That millions of dollars have not been collected. Secondly, I support the sales tax. We need to have a sales tax increase, $20 to $25 million. We need to put together a budget that is balanced and bring in additional revenue to make sure that every resident in Oakland has the type of life that they so deserve. Excuse me. And finally, I'll say I've been asked over and over again, would I cut jobs? Cutting jobs, means cutting services. That would be the last effort that I would want to undertake, because but I believe that Oakland residents deserve the quality of services which are provided. And so, no, I would wait. I would put everything on the table, but that would be the final act.
Thank you very much. This next question is for all the candidates. You're each going to have 1 minute to respond. Many people sent us questions about Oakland's budget. They see the city in a fiscal crisis and want to know what the next mayor is going to do to fix things. I understand you can't boil down your strategy in a minute, but please describe one specific action that you plan to take as mayor that would set Oakland on a path toward fiscal stability. And we will start with Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. First of all, we have to do a comprehensive audit of the entire city budget. Somebody who is not already a part of the process, a core stakeholder. It's also critical that we require all stakeholders to come to the table. That includes our vendors, contractors, those I will be demanding that they reduce their contract pricing by 10 to 15% if they want to stay as a partner. Also, when it comes to labor, we will have to bring our labor partners to the table to have conversations on how we collectively support this path moving forward. It's not desired, but when 70% of your general fund is personnel costs, we don't get past this unless we have an honest conversation with our labor partners. We will all benefit on the other side as we get through this. We also have to look at how we restructure and refinance our debt, because we're currently paying significant interest, more than $130 million of interest on CalPERS at a 7% rate. We've got to come with a lower interest
Thank
rate
you very much.
in order to refi. Thank you.
We'll now go to Ms. Webb.
Well, some of you guys like to joke and call me the whistleblower. I'm proud to speak up and stand out. If more of us spoke up, stood up for what's right, we wouldn't be dealing with what we have in our community. I've already had meetings with our city auditor. He's been doing great work exposing the corruption. We all need to be whistleblowers. And I'll tell y'all something. Y'all don't know. I was brought home in the 20s. Manzanita was my elementary school. But it's the 80s, 82nd and 86th Avenue that raised me. And there's a line in Too Short's song that says, because I come from, what do you say? Because I come from East Oakland, where the youngsters get hyphy, blow it, blow the whistle. That's what we do.
Thank you. Ms. Pechenuk.
Well, the first thing that I would do in this situation is, look, we have to look at the question of why the city is completely now in the situation it's in. So I would look to create tax incentives to bring businesses in, to bring in industry. It's the American way. Maybe some of you are younger than I am and don't remember that, but this country was built on real production, on physical economy, on industry. And Oakland was a product of that. At the same time, I'd reach out to Donald Trump. The President of the United States is somebody you can work with who actually wants to bring back manufacturing and industry to this country. That's the backbone of what built this country. Go back to Alexander Hamilton. Go back to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Go back to Lincoln. Go back to JFK. These were the policies, not the green agenda, not all this wokeism. And we got to get serious if the future generation is going to be able to grow.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson. Oh, sorry, Ms. Robinson, excuse me.
Thank you, thanks. You know, folks, I work in business, okay? I'm immersed in this all the time. We are experiencing the second Great Depression, commercial real estate collapse right now, and it's our major problem in our business community. We've got to get businesses back in these empty office buildings. I mean, this is our crisis. It's a commercial real estate crisis. So we need a mayor at the helm of the city that knows business development, okay? We can't just sit on our laurels and wait for some mystery business plan that's going to be launched by City Hall. We got to get out there and go get businesses and make deals with them to come into our office buildings. I'm selling people on a vision of our future, okay? We're going to transform this city into the and we will do it. But that out and we get these businesses, okay? We don't wait for them. We make deals with them. We have to waive taxes. We have to waive different benefits for new leases. We have to make deals with these businesses and get the downtown core filled up. We have to choose what we are though, right? We decide we're going to be in this city.
Thank you very much. And now Ms. Swaney.
We have a huge tech innovation hub in the Bay Area, especially San Francisco, but unfortunately, a lot of that money is not going to Oakland currently. And by having partnerships with these tech companies and non-tech companies, that could help with the budget. Again, I mentioned creative revenue sources with different departments in Oakland. So that could be something that could really help with the budget. Another thing we could do is just focus on public-private partnerships in real estate development and sustainable development. I have a master's in real estate development and urban planning, and I've studied mixed-use development, affordable housing, business development in real estate. So we just need to put all of this together to create the future for Oakland that we need.
Thank you. Ms. Lee.
With regard to the budget, is it on? We need to look at outside investment with our city in terms of bringing in additional revenue to the city. We need to make sure that the revenue that we have and the tax dollars that have been provided are used efficiently. And in fact, we need to make sure that our veterans, the VA, and other federal agencies step up and actually do their job. And we talked a little bit about homelessness earlier. There are over 400 veterans living on the streets of Oakland. The VA is responsible for providing the shelter. That's an example of how we need to make sure that we leverage our resources and our contacts and bring
Thank you, Ms.
additional
Lee.
funding into Oakland.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Simpson.
This is a, the billionaire bondholders and the commercial real estate interests, the banks, the insurance companies, the big corporations. In short, the capitalist class, they want cuts. They want a mayor who will pull the Band-Aid off, and the hurt will be on us. It's a class question, and workers will never get anywhere by appealing to the boss's humanity or business interests. This is another reason why we need a labor party founded by our trade unions that can enter the social, political, and class arena with a broad program to appeal to all workers. This is possible. There's broad disgust in among working people with the way things are going. And it's possible that a labor party could inspire a new solution to the intractable problems that confront the city of Oakland and the world at large.
Thank you. Thank you all the candidates. I appreciate it. I'm now going to hand it over to the Oaklandside's Arts and Community Reporter, Azucena Rasilla.
Thank you so much, Eli. Good evening, everyone. I would like to remind the audience to please remain respectful, even if you disagree with the candidates' responses. And to the candidates, please, I ask to remain respectful towards the audience and towards the moderators. Thank you. Also, to the audience, I'd like to remind you that later in the forum, we're going to have a segment dedicated to questions from you, the audience. Later, we will have, I will ask to please raise your hand if you have a question, and we will have someone come over with a mic, so you will have your chance to ask your question. I want to start with a question for Barbara Lee and Loren Taylor. You will each have 90 seconds to respond. We're going to start with Barbara Lee. Cultural affair accounts for less than 1% of the city budget. That's roughly $700,000. The last budget cut entirely and wiped out its share of the general purpose fund and some of the hotel tax allocation. Last year, we saw the cancellation of the Art and Soul Festival, the closure of YR Media, and the financial struggles of Oakland arts and cultural organizations. What is your specific plan to fund cultural affairs at a time when state funding is limited and federal funding is at risk? Barbara Lee, 90 seconds to respond.
The arts and culture really provide for the heart and soul of Oakland. Oftentimes, we don't value our artists, our cultural affairs, our musicians. We need to make it a priority, first of all, in our city, in terms of our city budget. But secondly, given the budget cuts, and remember, 60 to 70% of the budget is for public safety, so that's only 30% left. And as someone who has brought millions of dollars here into Oakland for the arts and for cultural affairs, I would use my contacts. I would leverage our city tax dollars to bring in public-private partnerships to move forward with the arts in terms of financing and funding the arts. There are foundations I know of who would, if the leadership in Oakland were such that the arts and cultural affairs were priority, foundations, I'm confident would come in and help until we can get this budget stabilized. I'm dedicated and committed to the arts. Our young people deserve to have a city that prioritizes the arts and cultural affairs, and I would do everything I could do to bring additional resources in based on the people, the organizations, the companies, and the foundations, which I know not only in California, but throughout the country.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Loren Taylor?
Yes, the arts are critical, not just because they make us feel good, but because they are an economic engine of their own. Too often we make decisions as though the arts is just this thing that we do on the side, separate from real investment. Oakland's brand is strong. We are well represented, and a big part of that is because of our art scene, the culture that we create, how that manifests and goes across the globe. we have to leverage our brand when it comes to attracting additional investments in dollars. As the board member of the Oakland Ballet Company, I am very keenly aware of how the arts are struggling right now, but yet we have some amazing, amazing talent here within our city that not only deserves investment, but should be used as the tip of our spear as we rebound financially. There are many who are ready to not only invest, but also to be a part of our art scene, and we've got to tap into that. I will ensure that we continue investing in the arts because that is so much a fabric of who we are in Oakland, and it's got to be part of our rebound. I'm glad that I have had the opportunity while on the council to continue investments in the arts, increasing the mural fund so that we use our arts in order to beautify our spaces. Also addressing the activation of spaces, particularly in East Oakland, where we haven't had a lot of festivals and events that bring people to the East. And doing that is a way of revitalizing our neighborhoods.
Thank you so much.
Well. Thank you.
Your time's up. The next question is for Renia, Webb, and Elizabeth Swaney. You'll each have 90 seconds to respond, and we're going to start with Ms. Webb. Former Mayor Sheng Tao, along with the East Bay Film Collective, introduced a $500,000 film incentive that was passed by City Council. It was shelved when the contingency budget was triggered. Are you in support of reviving this initiative? And if so, how do you plan to find funding for it? Ms. Webb?
Definitely, I'm supportive of it. Wakanda forever. That's what we are. Our music, Oakland's art scene, 7th Street. That's why it's no coincidence and it's not by chance that they took music out of schools. You guys keep laughing like this stuff is a joke. It's not. This is not a game when these babies are in the streets dying every day. You guys are going to learn some respect. Even about Trump. Some of you guys voted for him.
Ms. Webb, I would like to remind you to stay focused on the answer, please.
But music is beautiful. We know that. Music out of Oakland healed this nation after the civil rights brutalities. I love music. My father is a musician. That's why I don't know why the AV team is playing with their microphones. Again, stop playing. Respect. We're going to get the funding from our Congress. They want to take care of Oakland. They do. No matter what, Trump is our president. We're going to get money from him. It is just what it is. It's called respecting. Respecting authority. We elected him.
Thank you, Ms. Webb. The next question is for all the candidates, and this is a yes or no. Oh, I'm so sorry. Apologies. Elizabeth, please, 90 seconds.
So I am in support of the film incentives in Oakland, and we will get a lot of revenue from the bigger film productions that come into Oakland, and that can help fund the incentives for the smaller, more independent film productions. And they're also important. I'm experienced in filmmaking. I'm also a stand-up comedian. So I'm a stunt woman occasionally in Hollywood about twice a year. I worked with Steven Spielberg on the film The Fabelmans, and I was a stunt woman in that film. So I know how important it is for filmmaking to be part of a city and bring revenue, business, excitement to a city, to kind of watch your city on a television show or film and say, oh, that's my city, or that's where I grew up, or I recognize that place. There's more film incentives, obviously, in San Francisco now than Oakland, but Oakland is such an amazing, diverse, wonderful city. We need to showcase more of Oakland to the world. And when we do that through film or TV, hopefully both, more people will come to Oakland. I'm also a stand-up comedian and have a wonderful tech pitch roast comedy show, which combines business and tech and entertainment. So we need to bring more of that to Oakland, have more live entertainment, also support artists in Oakland. There's so many different types of art in Oakland, and it's great to hear that so many candidates are in support of the arts in Oakland. So I think there's great things ahead.
Thank you so much, Ms. Swaney. The next question is for all candidates. It's a yes or no answer, and we are going to start with Ms. Lee. In 2016 and 2019, the Oakland City Council voted to strengthen Oakland sanctuary city status by pledging the city staff, including the police, will not assist ICE in any efforts to apprehend anyone on immigration charges. Do you support Oakland continuing to be a sanctuary city, and will you commit to upholding that ordinance? Just yes or no. Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Pechenuk?
No.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Amnesty.
Ms. Swaney?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
No.
For those of you who answer yes, here's a follow-up question. You will have 60 seconds each to respond. Oakland relies on the federal government for millions in funding for police, transportation, childcare, and more. What will you do if the Trump administration withdraws federal support for Oakland because of our sanctuary city law? We'll start with Mr. Taylor.
One of the most amazing things about our city is how we show up for each other. When one of us are attacked, we are all attacked. And so that is core to who we are. That is core to what makes Oakland Oakland. And I am committed to making sure that if our neighbors are being pulled out of their homes, pulled out of their jobs, being pulled away to be deported, they've been contributing to our city. They've been adding not just to the culture, but to those things that make Oakland unique. We cannot be accomplices in persecuting them, rounding them up, and then shipping them off. If there are dollars that are threatened by the Trump administration, we know that there are other pathways, partnering with our regional partners, our neighbors, the Attorney General, and others to stand up legal defenses as well as financial defenses for our city. We've got to explore all of that and not just give in to a loud threat.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Ms. Swaney?
People come to Oakland because it's such a welcoming, diverse place. And as far as dealing with the current administration, I'm not affiliated with any political party. I'm a fresh face pretty much in politics. So I am happy to talk with the administration, with Governor Newsom, et cetera. So I feel like I'm a person that accepts perspectives, or at least talks about perspectives from people of all different communities. And I feel like that would help Oakland move forward.
Mr. Simpson?
I stand with immigrant workers in their fight against deportations. We don't want to see our fellow workers, our family members, our neighbors dragged out and thrown across the border. But what we need is a central focus to demand, and an amnesty is for all workers who are immigrant without papers who are living in the United States, is the demand that can unify working people of all nationalities, immigrants and labor unions. Everyone can get behind this, because the second-class status of immigrant workers, their precarious status, drives down the living standards, the safety standards, and the wage standards of working people everywhere. Immigrant workers are playing a leading role in the fight and fighting back, like they did in the Unite Here Local 2 strike in the hotels in San Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Ms. Robinson?
Yeah, first, I just want to be clear, our sanctuary city policy does not protect crime or people who commit crimes, but I do think that needs to be made clearer in the policy. So I would propose amending the policy and making that clear to our community that we are not protecting people who commit crimes. Secondly, I want to say, the politics world, we don't have a good pathway for people for citizenship. We've got our new president offering millionaires a gold card to our country. Well, we have hardworking people in this city who came here as children. And are we going to watch them deported because it's a mass deportation strategy that's playing out in the press, and it's more about publicity than it is anything else? So until we have a federal government that works, that makes progress on immigration, real progress, real pathways for people to accomplish citizenship, not just gold card standards for millions in the United States.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Lee.
Well, I resisted the creation of ICE. I voted against it. Secondly, with what the Trump administration is doing, and given that we are a sanctuary city, we need to remember that we must push back and resist this. Secondly, that's why I called for One Oakland, especially in this day and time, because the Trump administration will try to divide and conquer all of us. And we need to make sure that schools and houses of worship, vulnerable populations, our young people, our dreamers are protected. And that means we must find every single dollar that we can to make that happen if in fact the federal government is going to pull back any federal resources. That's why, again, the budget is so important. We have to get this budget under control and balance it, because we will need to make sure that we protect our young people, especially who are going to be traumatized by ICE if in fact these raids take place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. We want to allow time for questions from the audience, but before we do that, I would like to welcome Jimena Loesa. She's a reporter with El Tímpano, who will read selected questions that were submitted to their newsroom. Please help me welcome Jimena Loesa.
Hello. How about now? Awesome. All right. So I just first want to thank Oaklandside and KALW for including us on this incredible event. And I'd also like to thank the candidates for being here, as well as the audience members for being here. Again, my name is Jimena Loesa. I am a reporter with El Tímpano. We do community-powered reporting for Latino and Mayan immigrants in the Bay Area. We also use an SMS platform to be able to directly communicate with our Spanish-speaking community. So these questions that I have are pulled directly from our community members and directly from these messages that we send out to our residents and our community members. So first, Laura from East Oakland said her top concerns are illegal dumping and crime. Beyond enforcement, what long-term policies or initiatives would you introduce to address the root causes of illegal dumping and create a cleaner environment for our city? This question is for all candidates. I'm gonna give 60 seconds, and I'd like to start with Barbara Lee.
Every resident of Oakland wants a safe and clean city. One is we must make sure that all of the laws are complied with. So accountability and oversight and cracking down on those who are dumping illegally should be part of what the city is engaged in, and the city is not. Secondly, we need to make sure that the hot spots, the areas that are used for illegal dumping, that we have a public works department that immediately cleans up the illegal dumping. But we have to make sure that those who are doing this consistently over and over again are penalized.
Mindy Pechenuk.
Well, I'm a root cause person. And I'd say, why are people, first of all, doing the dumping? I mean, there's been a cultural collapse in Oakland over many, many years. And if we don't revive our city, and this is why I keep going back to the question of giving people a mission, giving people the sense of dignity, which you can only have if you have involved in manufacturing or industry or a business that is productive, where you're thriving. And so partially to solve that problem, we have to solve the cultural problem that has brought that about. I mean, you have a very serious problem. This is why I raised the question to ask. You know, Oakland's been a sanctuary city for quite a while. And what has it really done for people? It's really, you know, a question where I want to just clear it up, that this is not about going after every school child who's here illegal. I mean, people should understand that. So we can solve dumping. It's not a big issue. We can solve it.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson.
Yeah, this is a huge issue for us here in East Oakland, and I want to say that we do have a very enabling part of the government has caused the problem. We have over $1 million in citations the city was so proud of that hasn't even been collected on. So you can't just cite, you have to collect on it. And some people actually can't afford the citation. So in my opinion, they need to go to work on a Saturday picking up this city. We've got Ken Houston and the Oakland Beautification Project, and they're out there and they can take these people under their wing if they can't afford the citation. And we put the problem in charge of the solution. Okay, we've got to get focused on cleaning up this city. I'm running on a campaign. I'm sorry. I'm running on a campaign of transforming Oakland, cleaning up this city. This is ground zero. We have to educate our kids. They have to care. We have to change the culture of East Oakland especially. And we all have to be out there surge cleaning this city. I'm going to make once a month Earth Day in this city. And I'm going to give our government employees a day to help us surge clean Oakland. We've got to do this together. We've got to make the ground zero in the battle for this planet. This sacred land. This is it, folks,
Thank you. Thank you. Candidate Simpson?
I'd say illegal dumping, like you see defacing beautiful public spaces and all on our streets, is an example of antisocial behavior, thugism. And I commend the individual who asked the question for calling this to our attention. Like all social problems, underneath it's a class question. And antisocial behavior like that is tolerated and promoted in this society, which is a dog-eat-dog world. In order to turn that around, we need a mass social movement that can start from the bottom up, resolving all the social problems that appear to be intractable as long as we live under the capitalist system.
Thank you. Candidate Swaney?
We could encourage more volunteering in the city, which will help hopefully residents love Oakland more. And with more volunteering, perhaps when the budget is more stable, we could offer small tax incentives in return to the residents and or businesses that decide to volunteer. I know there's some surrounding counties that offer incentives for commuting. So if they're able to offer incentives for commuting, we could offer incentives for volunteering or sustainable commuting. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Taylor?
Yes, I believe in the three-pronged approach to addressing the blight in our city, including illegal dumping. Number one, eradication. We have to pick up the trash, but we can't just do that because then people feel as though they can just dump and dump and dump. Number two, we have to have education. When I grew up, we had Woodsy the Owl, give a hoot, don't pollute. There's an active education campaign that we have to do to change the culture in our city and on our streets so that everyone uplifts our city and the cleanliness there. Number three, enforcement is absolutely key. We have to uphold our laws around litter, dumping, et cetera. We have to make sure that those have teeth. We also have to look at stakeouts. I'm glad that when I was on the council, I was able to help move surveillance cameras and illegal dumping cameras through the Privacy Commission so we could actually deploy them. But now we have the challenge of not being able to follow up because of license plates are illegal, things are covered up, and we have to address that with direct engagement. Thank you.
Candidate Webb?
Well, our city auditor's office just put a report that 1.6 million of your taxpayer dollars was mismanaged overpayment of wages. So that's why we're getting no services in our streets. So let's just be real. Let's just say what's going on. So let's deal with cleaning the house first. Second is everybody, again, community code of conduct. We're going to be responsible for cleaning your own neighborhoods again. Instead of being online complaining about it, do something about it. I'm going to get the departments doing their jobs. We're going to do our jobs. You all are responsible to do yours as well. I'm tired tonight. I've been working at Crocker Elementary all day. Then I had an endorsement meeting, and my son is homesick right now. That's why I keep looking at my phone. So I have some pins for you all, some what are these? Whistles for our elders, some information that I'm leaving. You guys have a good night. I love you all so much. I'm going to serve you as your next mayor, but I'm going to go home and take care of my son tonight. I don't have time for the games.
Oh. All right, thank you for your responses. For my next question, I want to say that our community of Latino and Mayan immigrants are afraid. Currently, they're afraid. They're afraid to leave their homes. They're afraid to take their children to school. They're afraid to go to work. So my next question comes from Alberto from East Oakland. He says that he hopes that the candidates support our community, and he's especially concerned about cost of living and safety. So how will you build trust with the Latino community in these difficult times? And I'm going to go ahead and start with candidate Taylor.
Cost of living and safety are absolutely on everybody's mind. And yes, I know our Latino community especially. I am, as many know, I grew up here. My mom is a retired OUSD teacher, bilingual teacher, and she taught in the Fruitvale for the majority of my time coming up. So being connected to our Latino community is something that I just know that's a part of coming up. And yes, we've got to look out for our Latino community because they face additional challenges that many of us don't. When it comes to public safety, I am 100% focused on improving public safety. When we talk about being here on the ground, delivering real results, unlike others, I helped bring 48 additional officers to patrol in East Oakland when I was on the council. I look forward to other ways of improving the number of folks to respond, both sworn and unsworn officers on the streets to increase safety for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Swaney.
Nací cerca de aquí y mi madre es de Venezuela y mi padre es de Los Ángeles. So I grew up in a bilingual English-Spanish household. I am Latina and I have a deep understanding of the Latino community. My mother's a Spanish-English translator and I've grown up and as an adult understand the issues of the Latino Hispanic community. So that'll definitely be a priority of my campaign, and not only Latino community, but all the communities in Oakland that make the city great and what it is.
Thank you. Candidate Simpson.
I think we need, okay, in the workplaces are composed of all nationalities. And we work side by side and we have total confidence in each other. There's no distinction of nationality, language. We bridge the gaps. And that's the power of the working class, which to bridge the gaps, work together, overcome hurdles, and fight to change the world and the future. And that can happen here. That can happen in Oakland. It can happen in the Bay Area. It can happen in California. It can happen in the United States, and it can happen in the world. We can change the world. We work together. We forge a mighty working class movement, a labor party that can stand in elections and that can forge a social movement with amnesty for immigrant workers right at the heart of it. And will that build trust? I imagine so.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson.
Thanks. Yeah, I went to school in a school that was 90% Hispanic. So I feel like I understand the Latino community very well here, and I really, really respect the community. I mean, I'm in favor of community policing, community and police working lockstep, hand in hand. And I'm very concerned about community policing being stripped out of Measure NN. They took it out. They took out accountability. They're firing our neighborhood service coordinators. I mean, how do we come together as a community when they're canceling community policing in Oakland? And it's like we've gone through processes where we reimagine public safety. We don't invite our police officers to the table. So we've got to come together, community, police working together hand in hand. And that includes for our Latino community. I'm scared too. I live right up the street, okay? We've had neighbors killed here. I mean, I'm stepping in the ring because I'm fighting for people's lives here. I mean, the devastation to the families in my community is severe. Losing a child, having a child die in your arms on the streets, this is what we live in my neighborhood.
Thank you. Candidate Pechenuk?
Yeah, I work actually with the Latino community around the state, and it means a lot. And look, the cost of living in California and Oakland is off the charts, and it's deliberate. There's no reason for it. Take PG&E, for example. How many people have seen their electric and gas bills go sky high? And over 100,000 people have been cut off their bills, because they didn't pay, because we don't have a safety net. And that means people are going to be thrown on the street. They're going to die, or they're not going to get their medical equipment that they need. This is outrageous. This is 2025. We know how to solve these problems. And it means making really human decisions about life. So companies like PG&E, which I assume is getting a good tax breaks for having moved over here to Oakland from San Francisco, because they said it would lower our electric bills. Well, I don't see it lowering the bills. I see it going up, and their excuses aren't accountable. So that's where I would fight for the, bringing down the inflation, bringing down the cost of living. And I think I stated some of my police policies earlier. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Candidate Lee?
Yes, I was born and raised in an immigrant community in a border town, El Paso, Texas, in a Black and brown community. And it's so important that the trust be there in the Latino community by their elected officials. I hope that my record has demonstrated that I support every effort led by the Latino community. I worked on affordable housing and brought in resources for the Fruitvale, the transit village. I work very closely currently with the Unity Council. I believe it's important to support organizations, which I have in the past and would continue to, such as La Clínica de la Raza, such as El Centro Legal. The trust is important, but affordable housing, good paying jobs, public safety is extremely important. Ceasefire is important crime prevention strategy that's integrated into our police strategy for crime prevention and for safety. And I would want to bring that to scale even more.
Absolutely. Thank you. And now I think it's finally time for audience questions.
Thank you so much, Jimena, and thank you to El Tímpano. Now it's time for questions from the audience. If you have a question, a mic will come around. In the interest of time, we ask that you take no more than 30 seconds to ask your question, and you direct them to no more than 2 candidates. Please keep your questions respectful and to the point. First, we'll have this gentleman here in the middle. Yes.
Hello, and thank you all for being here. My question is a couple easy ones for you. How much financial support has your campaign received from our public service unions? And will you push for concessions from these unions when it comes times to renegotiate our city contracts with them? Thank you.
Who is the question directed to?
Senator Lee and Congresswoman Lee and Loren Taylor.
Ms. Lee?
The report, our financial campaign reports will be made public very shortly. I believe we have received contributions not only from our labor unions, but from ordinary citizens, donors, people who care about their city. The exact dollar amount, I would not be able to say tonight because we need to wait to see what the report lays out, but it will be very transparent. Everyone will know exactly how much. When it comes to concessions, as I said earlier, with regard to the budget, everything is on the table. Cutting jobs would be the last priority because that's services and jobs, and this city deserves the best services possible to live the type of lives that they so deserve to live as Oaklanders.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes. Regarding labor support, I, to this date, do not have labor investments into my campaign, but what I do have is more than 75% of my funding is coming from individuals in Oakland. And as we know, a majority of the households in Oakland are connected to the labor movement, have someone in their household that is in labor. So while not supported by the institutional labor groups, I am supported by their members who are very eager to see strong, effective leadership in City Hall that ensures City Hall stays open and does not go bankrupt. I am prepared to make the hard decisions that will move our city, hard and necessary decisions that will move our city forward, even if that means that we have to go through a period where we are not providing all of the jobs that we want so that we can rebound on the other side and grow and expand.
Thank you,
jobs,
Mr. Taylor.
Strengthen. Thank you.
Anybody else has a question? On this side, Darwin, over here, this gentleman, yeah.
Hi, thank you. Street crime is very visible, and it's caused by community poverty and hopelessness. Corporate crime is invisible, but it raises our rents, raises our prices, cuts our pay, raises our medical costs, and steals our community from us with big real estate deals. And then it brings drugs in and launders the money from those drugs in real estate deals. Any people who raise their hand, I'd like you to answer if you will expose and attack that corporate crime.
Who would you like to answer that question? Up to 2 candidates. Who?
If you're going to say yes, put your hand up.
It's only 2 candidates, sir.
Taylor and Lee, please.
Mr. Taylor?
All crime needs to be addressed within our city. We have a accountability challenge here and an enforcement challenge within Oakland. We cannot allow our residents or taxpayer dollars to be taken advantage of by corporate crime or street crime. And so it is absolutely critical that we use our resources, our partnerships, and others to make sure that if folks are abusing our laws, are abusing our residents, are abusing the trust of government, that we root that out and hold folks accountable. One of the things that I am very committed to is investing in our Public Ethics Commission to make sure that the corruption, the self-dealing, and other things happening in City Hall, in partnership with these private outside interests, in partnership with other organizations that are trying to have their way, that they are held accountable, that there's full transparency in deals that are being made in City Hall.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor? I'm sorry. Apologies. Ms. Lee.
Yeah.
Apologies, Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lee?
Yeah, crime is crime, corporate crime and street crime. One of the issues that we need to deal with within the city structure, just making sure in terms of fiscal responsibility, is ensuring that contracts are made public. We don't know who's getting a contract for how much and what the mission is and what the scope of work is. And when there are corporate tax loopholes, if businesses are trying to get around paying their taxes, if there are any types of corporate tax giveaways that the city is engaged in, then we need to close those corporate tax loopholes. The same as with street crime. We need to look at alternatives, though, for our young people who are out there committing these crimes. We need to provide jobs, job training, and a pathway out of this criminal activity. And the city, I believe, is responsible for having a robust plan to do just that, to prevent crimes from taking place.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Briefly, 30 seconds, please.
I appreciate the question. I like the way you put it. However, I don't think it's a crime problem. I think the massive resource that are collected by big business, that's the system. It's not really a crime thing. It's not going to be addressed by catching bad players. It's all built into the system. So I appreciate your question and pointing out the vast difference, but it's not a crime question so much as the nature of the beast.
Thank you. Ms. Pechenuk?
I think the question It's a very good question, and I appreciate it because the drug trafficking is really a fundamental problem. And I know that the offshore markets where the corporations, the political class run the drugs with the cartels, with the human trafficking is the problem. And as mayor, I will work with the federal government because obviously a mayor can't shut that down by herself. But I will work to make sure those offshore markets are closed and shut down so we get to the root cause of the problem.
Thank you. I would like to get questions from, make sure that everybody has a chance on all sides of the audience. So anyone on this side of the audience? Jacob, yeah, right here, brown jacket.
Hi, my question is directed to Barbara Lee and Loren Taylor. I went past Havens Court the other day and it looks like a prison. And I'm wondering what either one of you will be doing to stop the prison, the high school pipeline into our prisons.
Oh, sorry. Who do you want to Mr. Taylor? Okay, we'll start with Mr. Taylor.
As the son of a retired OUSD teacher and someone who has been a PTA president for my kids' school here in Oakland, I am 100% committed to making sure that we stop the school to prison pipeline. We support our young people, give them amazing opportunities. One of the things that I will do as mayor is make sure that the mayor's summer jobs program is fully invested in, and not just giving folks a minimum wage job. We have to make sure that accompanied with that job is the soft skills training, the hard skills training, and the preparedness so that those young people are able to find their own opportunities. I stand in front of you today as a product of Oakland, someone who benefited from the system. We are currently failing those who are coming behind, and I am 1,000% committed to making sure that Oaklanders coming behind me are given similar opportunities to potentially be mayor of Oakland one day.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lee?
Yeah, the school to prison pipeline is an issue that I've worked on for many, many years. And one of the issues that we need to address is school funding in schools where the student population has now been reduced because school funding is based on average daily attendance. So the city needs to help the school district by finding additional resources, but also the curriculum. We need to make sure that our young people have the art classes, the sports, that they have the technology and they learn STEM education. And I've worked on this and want to take that into the public schools here in Oakland so that we can crack this school to prison pipeline. Having shops and having workforce training at our schools is extremely important. Not every child is going to go to college. So why don't we have apprenticeship training programs and workforce training programs for the jobs that exist in our community? And so we need to do a lot with regard to job training and skills education early on.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Can I answer that question too, since other candidates?
Sure.
So I want to say, you know, we have money vis-a-vis Measure AA, which is a huge ballot measure. And I think we should all be concerned about how that money is going to be spent. I just talked to a teacher, and once again, our teachers have huge classroom sizes. And it's like, look, we can tell who's going to prison before they're 5 years old. It's all about language skills. It's retoxing. We have the money. We just need to make sure that the money isn't squandered and that we're actually utilizing that and listening to the teachers. We have a bloated administration, a bankrupt school system, and we're not listening to the teachers.
Thank you.
We have a question right here.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I actually went to Castlemont and I live in this area. There is a lot of issues. Let's start with the cell phone companies around here. There are scamming people. We try to reach out to people in Oakland, city of Oakland, and we get no response. What we need is someone to listen and have someone make the situations that are bad, have them be held accountable. You guys are saying hold people accountable. We want that too. If you guys could just, whoever the mayor is, have a group of people that is willing to sit there and take the phone calls and go out and talk to people to understand what's going on. Nothing is going to be fixed if you guys do not listen to the people who actually live in Oakland.
Thank you. I would like to get maybe questions from someone here towards the front. Anyone? Okay, over here with the black sweater, fourth row. Yeah, thank you. As a reminder, please, to get to as many questions as we can because we're almost running out of time. 30 seconds, keep it tight, and 1 to 2 candidates, please.
So on April 15th, there's at the special election, we're going to be asked to vote on the sales tax increase, which I think Congresswoman Lee already referenced, from 10.25% to 10.75%, which is about 50 cents on $100. Yes or no, if I can ask each candidate just yes or no, do you support or do you not support this small increase in the sales tax?
Great, we'll start with Ms. Lee.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, for certain items.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much to all the candidates. Okay, anyone on, maybe let's see, on this side of the aisle? Okay, guy in the back with the green.
Uh-oh, this guy.
My reputation precedes me, rightly so. If the creek don't rise, and knock on wood, we're going to get 125 million from the sale of Oakland's share of the Coliseum property this June. City Council passed a framework that said the net proceeds of any public land should go into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. As somebody who, not just because I'm on the board of directors of a nonprofit affordable housing developer, but I think it's the right thing to do to take the people's money and invest it in housing for the people. I want to ask Ms. Taylor and Ms. Lee and Mr. Taylor, what would you do with the proceeds? Would you stick it in the general fund so we have to make no cuts for another year? Would you put it in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, or would you do something else with it? Just day to day or something special?
In the interest of time, let's keep it to 45 seconds or less. We'll start with Mr. Taylor.
If I were able to rewrite how this whole thing would happen, I think that the Coliseum should be used to generate ongoing revenue for our city. For me, we have a $130 million structural deficit now. Other cities take their public lands that they are investing into a development project so they can get a continual return that allows to pay for ongoing costs like police, fire, libraries, year over year over year. I think it was foolish to liquidate this asset just to save us so we wouldn't have to make a hard decision in 1 year. And I also think that we need to use these dollars to stabilize the ship as opposed to spending on things we love, but aren't actually going to set us up for success in the long run.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Ms. Lee?
I would have been very cautious about linking the sale of the Coliseum to the budget. I thought that was very risky. But having said that, I'm cautiously optimistic that it's going to get done. I would also want to see the proceeds of the sale being used for what the initial decisions were. It was a decision by the council. It was hopefully a decision by people in the city who wanted to raise additional revenue because of the budget deficit. But I, again, say I'm not sure that that was the correct decision, but I think that we need to move forward for its stated purpose.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. To account for having started a little later than planned, we're going to have time for 2 more questions. So if you have a really good question, this is the time to ask. Let's see. Trying to see where I haven't been asking. So more towards the back, middle, in the pink shirt, peach shirt.
Thank you. This is for candidates Lee and Taylor. Not to underestimate how serious the threat to public safety is in Oakland right now, I admit I'm a little chilled to hear everybody talk about giving more money and more staffing to the Oakland Police Department after 20 years where it is consistently proven it cannot govern or manage itself. Anywhere in America where we have given more money and more resources to police departments, Americans, especially Black Americans, are less safe than they've ever been. What is your ideas for how to oversee and actually control the Oakland Police Department instead of just continuing to give them 70 or more % of our budget every year where they just keep getting scarier and scarier?
Thank you. Mr. Taylor?
Gladly. Thank you for lifting that up. We cannot give money without resources, without also having accountability and expectations on how you perform. One of the things that I have advanced both when I was on the council and will implement as mayor is department level performance management systems that allow for us to see what the department goals are, what we're trying to avoid, and make sure that that's fully transparent. The police department is no different from that. I will be very hands-on working with the police chief, the federal monitor, with the city administrator to make sure that we are holding our officers accountable, just as I did when I was on the council, standing up against the defund movement to remove dollars from public safety, while also starting and pushing forward a reimagining public safety task force to improve how
Thank you,
our
Mr. Taylor.
department operates.
Ms. Lee?
With policing comes police accountability. And I would never want to support increasing any public safety budget without police accountability that is central to policing. Also, accountability and transparency. Here in Oakland, we still have a federal monitor. Why do we still have a federal monitor? We need to look at that and understand when, in fact, the completion of the pending tasks are going to be completed. It's been 20 years now. And so we also need to look at how money is being spent in terms of police accountability within the budget, the transparency, the overtime of the overtime, is that within the budget, and it is in fact going for community policing to.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Thank you.
Do any other candidates want to jump in on this?
Yeah, anybody else?
I do. I want to jump in on this one. So look, folks, on the public safety side, it's like I forgot can you repeat the question again for a second, just so I make sure I get it right?
The question was essentially, the police department is problematic. Why keep giving a lot of money to the police department?
Yeah, so I mentioned this earlier. I just want to make sure I got it right. So I mentioned this earlier. We have a toxic police culture, and Chief Mitchell said this at a meeting. The officers are scared to do their jobs, and we have to correct the toxicity that is in OPD because they are doing as little as possible because they're afraid if they make a mistake, it's going to ruin their career. We're not going to attract top talent to Oakland if we don't fix this, and we're not going to retain good officers. So we're not getting the highest quality talent to Oakland.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. We only have time for one more question. So if you have a yes or no question that all the candidates could answer, please raise your hand. Anyone? Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll go over here with you. Yes or no question, please.
What are you going to do to stop the gentrification of the Black community? And when we talk about public safety, Congresswoman Barbara Lee is the only one that talked about a comprehensive plan. And so to the others, is locking up as many Black men as possible your public safety plan?
It's not a yes or no question, but it's an important one.
We'll do 30 seconds, so be brief, and we'll start with Ms. Lee.
No, we need to have a comprehensive public safety plan that involves crime prevention, that involves making sure our young people are hired to be violence interrupters, which I've worked on for years, funding. And we have to make sure that there are alternatives for young people so that they don't end up in jail. And we want to make sure that opportunities are there. And in fact, we have ceasefire brought to scale so that we can prevent crimes from taking place. No, we do not need to have, again, school to prison pipeline.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
With Black boys.
Ms. Pechenuk.
No, we don't need to lock up Black young men or men and Black men at all. Look, the question isn't about what it is. The problem is that we don't have a city which really respects the question of human life. Look, I want to say something for the Oakland police because I have done a lot of ride-alongs with them. And these guys in East Oakland really do care about the people. It's the city ordinances which are a problem, these oversight committees, both local and federal. People have to understand how
Thank
tied
you, Ms.
up the
Pechenuk.
hands of our police are.
Ms.
Thank you.
Robinson?
Yeah, we can't go back to mass incarceration. We have to address the root causes. We have more Black men, especially on the streets of this city, that are homeless than ever before. So we have a problem here that has to be addressed. Ceasefire has weaknesses. They only address groups and gangs. So they're not addressing emotional violence. We're seeing younger and younger kids on the streets get arrested for violent crimes. That is a weakness of the ceasefire program. So we have to get the Department of Violence Prevention to address that weakness specifically. We've got 9-year-olds, 11-year-olds arrested for murder.
Mr. Simpson?
It's the poor who face the savagery of the U.S. justice system. My party stood with the hunger strikers across California who waged an unprecedented strike across national lines, across, ethnic lines against indefinite solitary confinement. And it shows the humanity of our prison population, not our prison population, excuse me. It shows the humanity of the workers who are locked up behind bars and that there's a future for humanity.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Ms. Swaney?
We need to have more opportunities in Oakland, not only for adults, but for children, for the youth to have jobs to look forward to. And the term school to prison pipeline shouldn't be even a term. We should reframe it to looking forward to a school to jobs pipeline or school to arts pipeline, something positive that everyone in Oakland could look forward to. And I think that'll really help us.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
So a comprehensive public safety program is exactly what I have been advocating for my entire time in leadership here in Oakland. As a member of the 100 Black Men, I am part of the OK program mentorship and supporting other mentorship programs that specifically engage our young men, not just a one-time thing, not just having a day, but a consistent engagement is what we need. Funding the programs in the schools as well as outside of schools, absolutely critical as we look at what's needed to complement.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
That is all the time that we have for audience questions, but thank you so much. All excellent questions for all the candidates. We're gonna close up tonight's forum a little differently because we wanna make sure that you hear one last time from all the candidates. So rather than having a closing statement, we're gonna end with a question submitted by a community member. Each of you will have, please keep it under 60 seconds to respond. And we are gonna kick off with Mr. Taylor. And the question is, being mayor seems like an impossible, thankless job. Why do you want it? And we will start with Mr. Taylor.
Look, just like you guys, I am fed up with the situation, the condition of our city. In 2016, I could no longer stand on the sidelines watching as things were not being addressed in my city. And so I decided to run for office, running to become the District 6 council member. I know that our amazing city has incredible potential that we are not realizing. Potential that allowed me to become an engineer, a business consultant, an entrepreneur, and a council member, and hopefully your next mayor. I am 1000% committed to making sure that we deliver on our potential. I am running for office because I know we can get there, because I know that the skills that I have built outside of City Hall and inside of City Hall being applied will allow me to hit the ground running on day one. We do not have time to waste when it comes to turning our city around.
Thank you, Mr.
And I
Taylor.
look forward to working with you as your next mayor. Thank you.
Ms. Swaney?
So I know that this city teaches people to be resilient. I competed in the Olympics after picking up a sport as an adult, and I wouldn't have done that without growing up in Oakland. I see so much potential in Oakland, so much promise. Some people see problems. I just see potential, opportunity, and good things to come for this city. And I think, why not run for Oakland mayor? I think there's an amazing opportunity for anyone in Oakland to have their voice heard. And if your voice isn't heard, I will work hard as mayor to make sure your voice is heard in whatever capacity that is.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson?
Oakland needs a workers' government. Oakland needs workers in City Hall. Oakland needs to turn the mayor's office into an organizing center for the working class here to fight for a better world. We're living in a world that's torn by war and capitalist crisis. It's not going up and up, it's going down and down. And there's no Oakland solution to the problem. We can't look at the world through Oakland eyes or US eyes. We need to look at the world through the eyes of the international working class. And the international working class can stand in solidarity and change the world. We can change the government here, we can change the government in Washington, and we can stop the wars, and we can build a better world for all, but only if we have a social revolution that changes the economic system that we live in today. We need workers' power. We need a Labor Party to lead us to that.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Ms. Robinson?
You know, we can't just keep talking about solutions. We have to prove the model. This is it. This is ground zero in the fight for this planet and our people. It's not about talking about it. It's about proving the model. And there's an old saying, you know, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Yes, we have a lot of problems in this city, but there is no better time than now to build the future of this city. We have to have a bold vision for this city, and we have to drive towards it with everything we got. This is it. We are not going to have a better time to build the identity of this city in a way that we've been struggling for so long to do. So I'm stepping in the ring to provide a vision for this city, to provide bold leadership and a dream that we can prove this model. Look what we've got at the federal level right now. They're going to gut everything that we care about. And we have to take a stand in this city, and we have to prove that we can do this. We can build a better future for us, for our city, for our neighborhoods, our community, for everyone. It's now or when.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pechenuk.
I decided to run for mayor of Oakland because I'm 73 years old, and I knew a better time that this country had. And I know I'm a candidate of common sense, and I'm a candidate of change. So if you want change in Oakland, I'm probably the biggest change you're going to get to actually rebuild this city in a great way. You know, I didn't grow up in Oakland, but I've studied the history of Oakland. And this city was so fantastic. You had Chevrolet, you had Del Monte. It was productive. Our families were growing. Children were, you know, coming up with using the great mind that God gave them to be creative, to take us to a new century. So this is why I decided to run for mayor of Oakland, because I could not stand to walk by another homeless person, you know, and watch the sanctity of human life be destroyed. I could not stand to see fentanyl and drugs destroying, and I'm old enough to know.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pechenuk. Ms. Lee?
Yes, I don't think that being mayor of Oakland is an impossible, thankless job. I recognize the challenges, but I also recognize the opportunities. And I truly believe that we need to make sure that neighborhoods that have not been seen in this city are seen. And I would want to work at the neighborhood level with the council members to make sure that every neighborhood in Oakland has a voice at the table and a seat at the table. For too long, too many neighborhoods have been left behind. Finally, I'll just say, and thank you for this forum because it's very educational for people. A lot of residents don't know this is not a strong mayor form of government. And I want to be mayor also so that I can put forth a charter commission so that we can make a decision and voters can decide, do they want a strong mayor form of government or a city manager form of government? So there are many structural issues that did not just begin in the last year or two. These are decades of problems and challenges that need to be addressed.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lee. Thank you so much. That is all the time that we have for tonight. I would like to thank you so much to the candidates for joining us this evening, to my co-moderators as well, and the Oaklandside's event partners, El Timpano and KALW. And thank you to you, the audience. Please don't forget to vote on April 15. Have a good night.